call the Eaton Sparks Planning Commission to order, please. May we do it with a roll call?
Commissioner Peterson?
Here?
Commissioner Vanderwell?
Here.
Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Terry?
Present.
Commissioner Hewens?
Here.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Shabazz? Absent. Assistant City Attorney Allison McCormick?
Here.
Assistant Community Services Director Armando Ornelas?
Here.
Thank you. We'll move on to the public comments. Anybody who would like to speak and address this commission on any item on the agenda or any item in general, you'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderwell, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. Then we're going to approve the minutes of the study session for January 2nd, 1st. And I'll take a motion on that if anybody has read them over.
Chairman Peterson, I move to approve the minutes of the January 2nd study session.
Thank you, Commissioner Brock.
Second, Commissioner
second.
Vanderwell.
From Commissioner Vanderwell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And so ordered. Now that we'll move on to the minutes of the Planning Commission for January 4th. As you notice, we all had a change, an amendment to those minutes. If you have all had read that, we'll entertain a motion accepting those corrections.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, as the proposer for the changes, just for the minutes, this is page 4, the 6th paragraph. This is that comprehensive land use amendment item we had last meeting. What I have proposed for the commission's consideration are just some changes to kind of reiterate the comments that I made, and also to add the comment that I suggested that we look at our comprehensive plan to add in a standalone office professional land use. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carey. So therefore, we can still approve it under those conditions. If everybody accepts those conditions approved.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th meeting with the changes proposed by Commissioner Carey.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Second?
Second, Commissioner Vanderwell.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We have an announcement of committee reports, please.
Chairman Peterson, Armando Ornelas here. We have neither announcements nor committee reports.
And informational items?
Under the, this is Armando Ornelas, Assistant Community Services Director. Under the, this category, I'm going to take the liberty to just to remind the Planning Commission that we are going to be using a third-party court reporter to prepare our minutes. And so it would be very helpful if you would do as Commissioner Vanderwell has been doing this evening and identify yourself each time you speak. Just so that we, as the court reporter, Ms. Taylor, who's out in the audience, gets used to and gets to know your voice. In the meantime, it would be, again, very useful if each of you would identify yourself each time you speak.
Correct. Understand. Thank you. Anything else under information?
No, Chairman Peterson.
All right, thank you much. We'll move on to the public hearing items, and it'll be PCN 17-0061. It's a consideration of conditional use permit request to allow for the development of 2 fast food restaurants and with drive-through at Solomon Circle and Vista Boulevard in Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. I'm Jonathan Cummins, Assistant Planner. PCN 17-0061 is a conditional use permit request to allow for the development of 2 drive-through fast food restaurants and a standalone ATM on a 1.5 acre site in the NUD zoning district at the corner of Solomon's Court and Vista Boulevard, just off I-80, outlined in blue in the image. In the Copper Canyon Plan Development, the Copper Canyon Handbook was adopted by the city in 2016 and specifically lists these uses as a requirement, requires a conditional use permit for the uses. Sparks Municipal Code requires the Planning Commission make the following 5 findings for a conditional use permit. Finding C1 requires compliance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan land use for this parcel is commercial, and the proposed use specifically is called out under that land use category. Finding C2 requires compatibility with surrounding uses. Some of the surrounding uses are a hotel that's currently under construction, other fast food and gas stations. Staff believes the proposed use to be compatible with those land uses. Finding C3 addresses the impacts to the natural landscape. The Copper Canyon Handbook calls this out as well, requiring that the developer address revegetation needs as well as the ecology of the site in the final landscape plan. Finding C4 addresses any other identified impacts. The applicant has supplied a traffic circulation and queuing analysis to the city's transportation manager, and she's reviewed and approved that plan. Finding C5 requires public notice be given for the item. Official noticing ran on January 19th in the Reno Gazette Journal. Additionally, notices were mailed to property owners within 500 feet of the site. Conditions of approval that were included with the staff report include requirements that a pedestrian access component be included in the final site plan, as well as that a landscaping plan that would take into account revegetation needs of the Copper Canyon Handbook to address those issues. To address concerns that arose at the Planning Commission study session on January 30th, in regards to parking, the handbook is silent on parking requirements, and so we would revert back to the city code for that, which would require for a restaurant use 1 parking space per 300 square feet of developed site for the square footage of the structures. So for this site, there would be a requirement of 17 parking spaces. The developer or the applicant has proposed in their preliminary site plan 55 spaces, I believe. As for the issue related to the slope and the landscaping of the site, the same process would apply where we would review a final landscape plan, which would have to meet the requirements of the planning and engineering staff who would review before issuing building permits per the handbook as well as the municipal code. So based on those 5 findings and the 4 conditions of approval, staff recommends approval of this item. So I'll be glad to take questions.
Any Commissioner Carey?
Commissioner Carey for the record. Jonathan, thanks for getting back to me on the parking standards. I was thumbing through the handbook for Copper Canyon, and I was wondering if you maybe be able to shed some light on why a conditional use permit is required for drive-throughs in Copper Canyon.
I don't believe, I've done that same research myself. There isn't any language that specifies why that particular use requires the process, but there are several uses, as you noticed, in the handbook that do require that we come through this process, mainly for review and particularly probably because of the needs of the traffic on the surrounding roadways, especially a busy one like Vista right off I-80. So
Sure.
yeah.
And follow up, if I may, Mr. Chairman. And so if this was just regular C2 zoning, it wouldn't require a conditional use permit
Correct.
at this location?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you very much. Is the applicant here?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ken Crater. I'm one of the owners and the developer of this project. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present tonight. I'll keep it brief. If I could get the overhead display on there. I think one of the unique aspects of this property is it's the remaining undeveloped corner at the intersection of Vista Boulevard and Solomon Court. And so we have an opportunity to develop that remaining corner. If you've been out there, I'm sure you've seen that the Woodspring Hotel is already under construction, and the large pile of dirt that's been sitting on that site for literally 20 years has been relocated. So now we have a nice level site to work with. But one of the key aspects of the site is the fact that it's on the entrance to not just Vista Boulevard, the residential area, but the old large industrial area just to the north and the west of the site. So we feel there will be a good demand for these types of uses to and from as people go to work. Plus, you've got the Northern Nevada Medical Center, Mendive Middle School, Reed High School. So we think it's a great location. And you can see. There we go. So you can see the location of the site right here, the large industrial area. And then further north, you've got the Nevada Medical Center, Mendive Middle School, and Reed High School. And I went out this evening and shot a picture of the site. And you can see that big pile of dirt that was there is no longer. They're starting to pour the pad for the hotel. And another exciting bit of news, I just learned in the last couple of weeks that Woodspring Hotel chain just got bought up by Choice Hotels. So it's going to greatly increase the marketing reach of that hotel and hopefully bring more business to our corner. But the last point I want to make out is this is the last interchange before the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. So in my mind, it's a chance to capture more revenue for the city of Sparks before they exit the city and head on to the industrial center. So we think it's a good use for the site. And the last point too is that I know that traffic was a concern. And so with our site design, you can see that we have no access on either Vista Boulevard or Solomon Circle. We're using Solomon Court, which will become the access both into our site as well as a hotel. And we think this will go a long ways to eliminate potential traffic conflicts by not having a driveway on either Vista or Solomon. I think that's it, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the commissioner? Seeing none, thank you, sir, very much.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'll now open the public hearing on this. Anyone who wishes to speak on this item may so address this commission. They may come forward and have 3 minutes. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to commissioners for discussion and a possible motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderwell, I move to approve conditional use permit CU 17-0009 associated with PCN 17-0061, adopting findings C1 through C5 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report and subject to the 4 attached conditions of approval.
Have a motion and a second?
Second, Commissioner Brock.
Thank you. On a discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to public hearing now. BCN 16-042. This is a consideration of a site 3.47 acres in size located at 3650 Whittington Road in Sparks. And it's a request for an access to join the city of Sparks.
Easy for you to say.
Excuse me. And with another secondary motion will be on for the zoning of this possible. Karen, please.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Karen Melby, Development Service Manager. Before you today is a project that consists of 2 requests. The first one is a voluntary annexation, and the second is a rezoning of the site. You can see here on the vicinity map, it's outlined in red. It includes both these properties. They're approximately 3.5 acres in size. On June 15th of 2017, the Planning Commission approved a city-initiated comprehensive plan amendment from low-density residential to intermediate-density residential for this property. Also during that meeting on June 15th, an annexation petition and rezoning request from single SF15 to SF6 was before you. The Planning Commission recommended that the City Council deny that proposal based on findings that the annexation of the property could require the annexation of Whittington Drive. On September 25th, 2017, after being presented with a proposed new primary access from Garfield Drive as opposed to access off of Whittakin. The city council has remanded that back to the planning commission for your review based on the new information. Therefore, that's why we are before you tonight with this project. The voluntary annexation, as I said, consists of the two parcels. You can see here there's a small parcel within the larger parcel. The other request, as I stated, is from existing SF-15. Upon annexation, the property would come in as zoned SF-15. And the applicant is requesting to bring the zoning to SF-6. Before you today, as I stated, is the same request as you had reviewed on the 15th with the change that they are now requesting access off of Garfield as opposed to Whittakin. The access is a 65-foot wide access, and it's along the eastern boundary of the church. So here's the church property. It's along this eastern boundary coming into the property. It might actually be better to see on it's right here, coming into the property. In reviewing the annexation findings, A1, which pertains to the conformance of the NRS 268, the properties are contiguous to the city limits, and the annexation is being requested by the only property owner of this property, which conforms to NRS 268. A2, which is the conformance with these findings in our Sparks Municipal Code for zoning. A is the location of the property. The properties are on the south side of Whittakin Road and are contiguous to the city of limits on two sides. They're consistent down this side and this side. B is a logical extension of the city limits. City utilities are in proximity to this property, and access will be via a private easement through this First Church of Nazarene of Sparks. And the internal streets, when they do develop this property, are proposed to be private, be maintained, which minimizes any costs to the city of Sparks. C, which is the need for expansion to accommodate the planned regional growth. The property is within the city's Sparks sphere of influence in the regional plan. There is an affordable housing shortage. With redevelopment, this could modestly increase the region's supply of single-family housing. D is the location of the existing and planned and water sewer services. The neighboring single-family homes to the east and south, so these homes here and here, are within the city limits and are currently served by city water or Trumwa water and sanitary sewer. The utilities are close to the proximity of the property. The sanitary sewer cannot be provided to this property until the interceptor at Tyler Way is improved by the city. The developer will have to pay for the extension from Tyler Way interceptor to their property. E, the goals met by the proposed annexation. Goal MG6, because the property is adjacent to older part of Sparks, which have 6,000 square foot lots that are served by city services. Other policies are MG7 and policy CF1. This application was initially placed on hold when it was originally submitted until the sanitary sewer capacity upgrade was approved by the city council. That is now in our CIP and is intended to be completed later this year. They will not be able to start construction on this property until the sanitary sewer is available to their property. Upon annexation, the Sparks Fire Station #1 will provide fire and emergency response, and they are estimated to be within the 6-minute response time. F, the efficient and cost-effective provisions of city services and capital facilities. I've previously discussed that under E. G, the fiscal analysis. The applicant provided a fiscal impact analysis and an updated letter addressing the new access off of Garfield Drive. In the fiscal impact analysis update letter, they estimate that the fiscal impacts from this annexation and the future single-family development will be a positive of approximately $230,600 over a period of 20 years. The assumption is that the easement will be a private easement and the internal roads will also be private. the estimated 20-year revenue to the road fund is about $83,000. H, Washoe County adopted community management plan. Staff has talked to Washoe County staff, and they do not have any comments or concerns about this annexation because it is located within the Sparks sphere of influence. I, the annexation creates any islands. The parcels to the north, so these parcels up here, are within Washoe County. And then also, this one parcel here is also in Washoe County. It's staff's feeling that this will not be creating an island because this is within the city. And this parcel would be contiguous still because Whittakin Road is in the county. Any other factors, which is J, the city cannot provide sanitary sewer, as I stated, until the Tyler intercept improvements are completed. Back to findings. In finding A3, this conformance to the comprehensive plan within the city's SOI or sphere of influence plan and the 7-year annexation plan. The city has exerted planning jurisdiction in this area in the sphere of influence plan in 2002. The city's annexation program has expired. We are working on doing a new one. A4, finding A4, public notice. Per the Sparks Municipal Code and NRS, public notice was published in the Reno Gazette Journal on January 19th, 2018, and 130 letters were mailed to property owners within 750 feet of the property. Now to review the zoning findings. Zoning finding Z1, which is consistent with the Sparks Comprehensive Plan. The goals and policies that are relevant are Goal MG4, Goal MG6, and Goal H1, which encourage infill redevelopment and allows the applicant to redevelop their property with a higher density. For goal or policy CF1, once the Tyler Way sewer improvements are completed later this year, the city will be able to provide sanitary sewer. And the last policy, H2, allows them to provide a higher density or more affordable housing in this region. Zoning Z2, surrounding land uses. The subject properties are located in an area of mixed single-family residential. To the north are large lots, single-family, in the unincorporated Washoe County. Immediate to the east is a large unannexed parcel. However, farther east are single-family homes on 6,000 square foot lots. To the south, within the city limits, are single-family homes on approximately 6,000 square foot lots. The redevelopment of these properties is consistent with the single-family homes that are located within the city limits. The finding Z3, which is public notice. Notice was sent to property owners 750 feet, which would total 130 notices. Again, it was published in the Reno Gazette Journal on January 19th, 2018. Staff is recommending approval of both the annexation and the rezoning request, and I wanted to remind you that you will have to do the approvals or your motions in 2 separate motions. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Questions, commissioners? Seeing none, thank you, Karen, very much. The applicant representatives here, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Sparks Planning Commission, for the record, I'm Greg Evangelatos, professional city planner, representing the Lewes. And again, I think Karen's done an excellent job summarizing and kind of going over the key issues. We recognized a year ago that there's a challenge relative to the impacts of Whittakin Road. With your action, we kind of rethought our approach, and we approached the Nazarene Church, and over fairly, 4 or 5 months, we've had a good negotiation with them. I think it's mutually beneficial, and believe that that eliminates the traffic impacts onto Whittakin, which there was concern of the neighbors at the time of the initial neighborhood meetings as well as the Planning Commission hearings. We believe that this is in conformance with your adopted comprehensive plan. We believe it's a good infill project. This region is crying for affordable housing. This is an area that needs a shot in the arm in terms of reinvestment, and I think this is a good first step. So we're in agreement with the recommendation of staff. Garrett Gordon is the attorney representing the Lewes. He basically negotiated the easement. He's here this evening, as are the Lewes, and we're available for any questions that you might have of us now or at the conclusion of public testimony.
Commissioners have any questions?
I might add that some of the issues relating to the actual traffic or the actual infrastructure requirements will be addressed in the tentative map. So tonight, you're discussing the annexation and the rezoning. You're looking at the intensity of the property and the applicability of your rules relative to bringing it into the city and giving it a designation. Subsequently, you will be addressing the physical impacts to the community and the infrastructure.
Sir, I think your commissioners know most of that. Thank you very much for explaining that. Seeing none, thank you, sir. Thank you. I will open the public hearing on this case. And anybody who wishes to speak on this item may come forward. Wait a minute.
I have 4 cards so far.
We have 4. I'll call these in order. Walter Wells.
It's Willis.
Willis, sorry.
Walter Willis.
I'm sorry.
Good evening.
Mr. Willis, you have 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Walter W. Willis, a property owner here in the city of Sparks. Been a property owner for approximately 15 years. I'm opposed to the annexation because I don't want to see my property or my neighbor's property decrease in value. Now, if they're going to do something as far as construction is concerned, my suggestion is let it be something that's going to be commensurate with the properties that are there. And I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbors and myself. That's about it. Any questions, sir?
Well, thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
Sarah Fawcett.
Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of me and my neighbors, sorry.
Will you state your name again?
I'm Sarah Fawcett, and we live on Whittakin Road,
Thank you.
directly across from this proposed project. The first thing we would like to ask is an extension for postponement of decision for case number PCN 16042, on the basis that there are some discrepancies in the fiscal impact analysis numbers. One, the proposed revenue for the general fund presented for the June 15th, 2017 meeting was $143,000 over 20 years. However, the new estimate for the same revenue is $230,000. This $87,000 discrepancy would not appear to actually allow for a positive fiscal impact to the city. On page 61 of the comprehensive plan, the revenue appears to be only $341 after 20 years. We would like to postpone any action on this case until further and more transparent fiscal clarification can be achieved. Another discrepancy is that in finding Z2, page 28 of request document, the claim that this property is bordered on 2 sides, east and south, with existing city IDR, intermediate density residential housing is not true. There's only City of Sparks IDR zoning on the south side. There's a very large, approximately 1 acre lot directly abutting the entire east side. This property is not incorporated in the city, nor does it have any public utilities. Therefore, finding Z2 is not correct with the surrounding existing land uses. So it follows from above. 1, the following arguments illustrate why this development does not fit into the City of Sparks comprehensive plan. Defined description of a comprehensive plan for LDR low density residential, Table 1 residential land uses, page 110 of plan, specifically states that the LDR category contains a number of established neighborhoods. Change is not anticipated or encouraged in these areas. It is only to be assumed that this is because the value and security of this type of property was clearly recognized when these zoning designations were initiated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Beth Ross? Very much. How about Norman? Same thing? Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to address this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commissioners for discussion and a possible motion, please.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Carey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Commissioner Carey. Karen, I had some questions about the fiscal impact analysis. I believe in your staff report, you mentioned that there's a, with the new access being provided off Garfield as opposed to what we had back here in June off Wedekin, there's a $230,000 positive fiscal impact to the city from this proposed
That's
annexation.
what's estimated in the updated letter for the fiscal impact analysis.
And, okay, so that's down from, what was it, $2 million with the previous proposed project?
Yeah, I
Over
don't know
20 years or
the
something?
exact numbers, but
Armando Ornelas, Assistant Community Services Director. Commissioner Carey, members of the Planning Commission, the difference in this instance is that by moving the primary access off of Wedekind and onto Garfield, basically the city does not have to take on, strictly speaking, the responsibility for Wedekind Road or that section of Wedekind Road. And so basically it went from a significantly negative fiscal impact to, showing a positive fiscal impact. Now, as was noted in the staff report regarding these fiscal impact analyses, I think to some extent, staff has consistently raised concerns over the methodology and in particular some of the assumptions about the revenue side of it, but we feel that the updated fiscal analysis is such that when you evaluate the case as a whole, that the other findings can be made, that there are enough positive factors here that whether it's a couple $100,000 over or a couple hundred in the red, if you will, we're in range, if you will, of where the other findings, the other considerations allowed staff to make a recommendation of approval to.
Thank you, appreciate the explanation.
I mean, it's not an exact science, right? I mean, at the end of the day, fiscal analysis involve a set of assumptions. And you tweak or modify the assumptions, you get different results. But on balance, if you will, if you look at all of the factors that were considered in terms of staff's review of the case of the request, we concluded that we could recommend approval.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Any further questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fewens, Karen, you said there was a question from the public on finding Z2 with surrounding existing land uses. And I thought you did a good job in your staff report on it. When you look at on the city plan, when you find existing land uses like that we're looking on tonight, what are some factors that you usually take in consideration since it is bordered on the west and to the south? There's that to the east. Can you just elaborate a little bit more how you found finding Z2?
It's contiguous to the city along this boundary and the west boundary. And you can see in this map, this is that's the zoning, I'm sorry. Oh, I guess I don't have the land use maps anymore because that was previously reviewed. But you can see where the zoning, and this is the property line here. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, I'm sorry.
Well, you could find that it does conform to the existing neighborhoods because it is
It's
two
consistent
of the
with
four
the
sides.
neighborhood to the south and then to the farther east, the size of what they're proposing as presented in the fiscal impact analysis and the zoning that they are requesting, which is single-family 6,000, which means that they would have 6,000 square foot lots. They are asking for something that's consistent with the neighborhood in the city, within the city limits.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Any further discussion on this? Prior to the motion, I'd like to remind the commissioners that we're making a motion on the annexation. Yeah, that first, please.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderwell, I move to forward a recommendation of approval to City Council of the voluntary annexation request for PCN 16042 based on consideration of findings A1 through A4 and the facts concerning these findings as set forth in the staff report.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Commissioner Reed, second.
Commissioner Reed, thank you. We have a motion and a second. And any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Before we take a motion on the zoning, I will have to open the public hearing again. Anybody wish to speak on this is free to do so. On the zoning, yes.
You have to come forward. Sit down. Yep, there you go. Good job.
On this 1 acre lot that's right next to it on the east side, it kind of creates a peninsula of the county, because we're all county, and this, so it kind of is somewhat an island. And they want to come up through here as an access, but directly across here, it is not, they have a whole acre that's directly on the east. So they only have this one border that doesn't, it's conflicting with the Z2 zoning, basically.
Thank you. Karen, can you enlighten us on that?
I think we just discussed that, but
I thought we did, yes.
Yeah. I think that was the question that Commissioner Fewens asked.
Right.
You need to probably close the public hearing before taking
Right.
questions.
I
Okay.
was going to do so. Anyone else want to speak on this public hearing?
Come on up.
Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Peter Lance, and I live at 3575 Whittigan. And just briefly here, there's been a few major changes to what was proposed the last time we were in this chamber with you. And, you know, that I would like to be more familiar with the impact or the differences and how, you know, that changes things. And so I'd like there to be a postponement on a decision in this case, just in order that we could be more informed about what it is, because going from egress from Whittican and now it's on Garfield, I mean, that's, you know, that's a real different thing. And I'm just not familiar enough now with the situation to feel comfortable about, you know, knowing how I feel about reasonably, pro or con. But I would appreciate it if we could postpone this decision so we could, the neighbors and what have you, could be more ready to, you know how we feel about it. And my only other question was the idea of that I'm just not sure, just with what I am familiar with, if, you know, the comprehensive plan is, it fits in that well with that plan. That's my request.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else before I close this public hearing and bring it back to the board, the commission? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commissioners for a discussion and a motion, please.
Chairman Peterson, Commissioner Fewens, I appreciate the work that staff's done on this. I just want to reiterate to the public that annexation and zone changes requests are very thoroughly looked at by this commission. And fiscal and impacts are something that we take very, very serious. And to answer the gentleman's question before, when it was, the access was off of Wedekin Road, it did very negatively impact the city as far as fiscal analysis over a period of time. And the applicant then went to work and found, hey, let's find a way to make this work. And when you talk about the comprehensive plan, finding 6,000 square foot homes, it is adjoining to neighborhoods that I see on to the south. And even though that one to the east is not in the city, and it is an acre of land, just a little a football's throw away, that you do have 6,000 square foot lots. So I'm going to vote in favor in this because I think that the comprehensive plan does need infill, and it does call for infill, and that is exactly what this is doing. So I'm going to be voting in favor for it.
Anybody care to make a motion?
Chairman Peterson, Commissioner Few once again. I move forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the rezoning request for PCN 16042 based on the consideration of findings Z1 to Z3 and the facts concerning these findings as set forth in the staff report.
We have a motion. May I have a second, please?
Reed, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Point of order. Can we have discussion?
Oh, yes, you may.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. This is Commissioner Carey for the record. Back when this item was brought forth in June for the comprehensive land use amendment, I did feel that IDR wasn't appropriate and it was compatible with the surrounding area. With respect to the proposed rezoning request, I feel that SF6 zoning that is proposed is compatible as well too. I didn't support the annexation and the rezoning back in June because we weren't able to make the findings because of the access issue. I feel that now that this parcel's been annexed into the city, access is being provided off of another city street. I think that'll help alleviate the other impacts that were brought up in the previous public hearing and in the hearing tonight. So I'm going to support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to make those comments on the record.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to general business items now. BCN 17-0057, consideration of a possible tentative map request for 344 lot, single-family subdivision, Kylie Ranch North, Phase 7.
I'm just gonna let them exit for a minute. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. I'm Karen Melby, Development Service Manager. Before you today is a request for a tentative map for a 344 lot, single-family subdivision, which is in the Kylie Ranch North Phase 7 handbook. It's called out in the master plan for the whole Kylie Ranch North project as Village 9. You can see on this map, this is highlighted in cyan. The property is located at the east of Kylie Parkway, which would have to be extended up to here, and then south of the future Lazy 5. The property is approximately 65 acres. The applicant was requesting one tentative map for the entire 65 acres or the entire Village 9. There are proposed, in the tentative map, there are proposed 3 sub-villages with 3 different average lot sizes. The ranges of sizes are from 4,000 square feet to 16,434 square feet. Come on. There's the tentative map. For reference, north is to the, that would be what, to the right? The primary access to this property will be Kylie Parkway, which is this road right here. it would be Windmill Farms Parkway, and then the extension of Lazy Five Parkway. This complies with the road network that was approved in the Kylie Ranch Plan Development, the tentative handbook, and also the final recorded Phase 7 handbook. In reviewing the findings, the tentative map findings, finding T1, which is the conformance to the comprehensive planning and zoning ordinances. The relevant policies are Goal MG6, policies CF4, C4, CF1, and then CC8. The Kylie Ranch Master Plan has been adopted as part of the Sparks Comprehensive Plan Land Use Map. The proposed densities of this tentative map are consistent with the Kylie Ranch Master Plan and also the Sparks Land Use Map. Supporting policy C4, the proposed street sections and also the proposed tentative map plans show sidewalks in all of the streets. Supporting policy CF1, the infrastructure and utilities are currently located to the southwest, they're generally in this area. The proposed tentative map is for single-family lots, which this village has always been planned to be single-family lots, and is proposed to be a variety of housing and lot sizes, which would support policy CC8. Finding Z2, I'm sorry, T2, I'm stuck on zoning. Conformance with the city's master plan and of the streets. The tentative map incorporates the street design as shown in the Kylie Ranch North Plan Development Phase 7 Handbook. The project requires the extension of Kylie Parkway, it currently terminates somewhere in here, and that it would be all the way extended up to Lazy 5. It also will require the extension of Lazy 5, which it terminates approximately at David Allen, would have to be extended all the way to the eastern boundary of the property. Finding T3, relating to environmental and health laws and regulations. The application was distributed to the reviewing agencies, and their comments are attached to the staff report. The developer will have to comply with all of the agency's comments before they can record their final map. Finding T4, which is the availability of water. The developer has estimated that the water requirement for this development to be at 120 acre-feet per year for the domestic water. The water rights needed to serve this project are in place or will be dedicated with the final map. Finding T5, the availability of and accessibility of utilities. The developer has estimated that the sewage flow for this development will be 335,400 gallons per day. The applicant will be required to provide evidence that there is adequate sewer capacity to serve this project prior to the recordation of the final map. Finding T6, the availability and accessibility of public facilities and services. The first one is schools. The tentative map will generate, estimated by the Washoe County School District, 124 students. The police protection will be provided by Sparks Police Department. And transportation, the Washoe County Regional Transportation Commission provided a letter which is attached to the staff report. With the development of the property, as I discussed previously, the Kylie Parkway will have to be extended north to the future Lazy 5 Parkway. To provide a secondary access to the subdivision, development will also have to extend Lazy 5 Parkway from the current terminus of David Allen Parkway to the eastern boundary of the Kylie Ranch North project. Fire. Pertaining to fire, emergency and fire response will be provided by the Sparks Fire Department. Subdivision, that, however, is located outside of the 6-minute response time currently. But the city of Sparks does have a mutual aid agreement with the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District. The fire department is requiring the 2 means of access to Village 9 before any construction may start on this property, which I discussed earlier, the extension of Lazy 5 and the Kylie Parkway. Pertaining to utilities, NV Energy will provide electricity to the property, Paiute Gas will be gas service, and the utilities will be extended under the ground. within their right-of-ways to serve this village. Finding T7, effect on the existing public streets and need for new streets. The project is estimated to generate 3,375 average daily trips, with a PM peak hour of 344 trips. The traffic impacts have been considered with the review and approval of the final plan development handbook, and this tentative map does not change the traffic patterns or generate average daily trips that exceed what was within the analysis with the final handbook. Finding T8, the physical characteristics of the land. The first one is the floodplain. The majority of Village 7 is located outside of the FEMA Zone X, though there is estimated to be about 8 acres on the eastern portion, which would be down in this area here, within the FEMA Zone A. The tentative map shows that the eastern lots are in Zone A, and the applicant is proposing to file a letter with FEMA to bring these lots out of Zone A. Based on the preliminary hydrology report that was provided with the tentative map application, the erasing of these lots will not adversely impact the floodplain nor properties downstream. Pertaining to the slopes, the site is relatively flat with most of it not over 5% slope. The soils, a final geotechnical report will be required before issuance of any building permits. Regarding finding T9, which is the reviewing agency's recommendations and comments, the city has received comments from Washoe County School District, Regional Transportation Commission, Truckee Meadows Water Authority, Nevada Division of Water Resources, and then also Washoe County Health District. All of those letters were attached to your staff report. Finding T10, which is pertaining to fire protection. They will be provided by Sparks Fire Department, and I discussed in detail more of that under finding T6. Finding T11 addresses identified impacts. The first one is landscaping. The Plan Development Handbook establishes the landscaping, fencing, and lighting standards. A condition on the tentative map is that they have to submit landscape plans and fencing plans with the final map. Architecture, again, the handbook defines the architectural standards, and they will have to comply and submit architectural plans of the homes prior to recordation of the final map. The last finding is T12, and that's public notice. The Planning Commission and City Council function as the hearing for the tentative maps. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Commissioners, have any questions, staff? Commissioner Carey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Carey for the record. Karen, with concern, or with respect to the lots, the 8 acres that are on the east side of the property that are in FEMA Flood Zone A, I'm just kind of curious what the process is for the applicant to submit a letter to FEMA for a change in the map.
I think that would be better addressed by John Martini.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. John Martini, your Community Services Director. So Commissioner Carey, to answer your question, FEMA has mapped the flood zones out there. Elevations are known. It's the area behind the Kiley Dam where all the water piles up if we ever get the big one. So what the developer will do is when they set their final grading plans, those edges that are coming into the Zone A, they'll show their fill elevations higher than where the flood elevation is. They'll fill out all the FEMA forms, do the modeling that needs to be done, submit it for approval to FEMA. If FEMA concurs with the findings, they will revise through a letter of map amendment first, most likely, the findings, and they'll revise the flood zone.
And just as a side note, on the subdivisions to the south that are final mapped right now, they did do a LOMAR on that area. It was approved by FEMA to take these lots out, their lots that were in the Zone A.
So the city has done some additional work. If you guys will recall, about a year ago, there was a lot of water everywhere. We were do to reanalyze our infrastructure out in Northeast Sparks, basically impact fee service area 1. That model is complete and it's in its preliminary stages. We'll make it final here soon. I'd like to tell the commission that the results of the modeling show the investment through impact fee service area 1, all the development we've done, that the model worked very well. Commissioner Carey, probably to get to your next question, we also had our consultant model that flood pool reduction due to the fill coming into it, and it had no effect on the performance of our flood system. So we've done our homework behind this.
No doubt about that.
I could see that turning and burning in your head. Okay, wait, if we're taking up the floodplain, where's it going?
Well,
So-
I was kind of wondering more along the lines of the process. So does FEMA have to approve the map before we can? I don't want to get too much into the weeds into this.
No, that's a really good question, Commissioner Carey. So what we've done in the past, they'll start setting with their tentative map as they head towards their final maps. They'll start setting their grades. They can apply for this before construction. Any home that shows up on a final map that is still pending the Lomar F consideration, we won't issue a building permit until that's finalized. We don't want to put homes in a flood zone.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Any further questions of Karen? Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is the applicant here? Would you like to add or subtract anything from that?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Michelle Rambo. I'm with Rubicon Design Group, representing the applicant. I think staff did an excellent job in giving you a good overview of the project. So I do have some representatives from the engineering firm and the builder. So if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them.
Questions from the commissioners? Thank you very much. Appreciate your input. Bring it back to these commissioners for a possible discussion and a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion. This is Commissioner Carey. I move to approve the tentative map for Kylie Ranch North Plan Development Village 9 associated with PCN 170057. Adopted findings T1 through T12 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report, subject to the conditions of approval 1 through 20 as listed in the staff report.
Motion, anybody second it?
Commissioner Brock, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Oh, okay, we're moving on to PCN 16045. Consideration of possible building elevations for the Legend Shopping Center, right? All right.
Chairman Peterson, members of the Planning Commission, Ian Crittenden, Senior Planner. I'm glad you guys waited through the whole meeting for the real heavy-hitting items. No, these are important, but you guys have seen some harder stuff this evening. Also, I wanted to make a note on the proposed motion. The numbering convention for our case numbers have changed between when this case, which is the administrative review for the site plan, has changed since then, and I mixed it up and did the newer one in the motion. So refer to the case number at the top of the page. It's the 16045, not with the hyphen. So just for clarification, that little piece changed.
All right, I understand now. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiny thing, but I caught it after the fact, and I was able to change it. So,
Okay.
So this is the review of elevations for a new building in the Legends Plan development. This is Zone C in the Legends Plan development. Here would be Sparks Boulevard to the east, and to the south is Big Fish Drive. This site here is the Chick-fil-A that should be opening Any day now? It opened today? Okay, I thought it was, I knew it was soon. There was the whole 5:30 coming, you can get on the list kind of a thing going on. The building here is under construction. Those elevations have already been approved. Most recently, you approved elevations for a building here on the corner of Big Fish and Shields. This is for a building here that's just north of this right-in only turn-in. It is for a Chase building. This is the submitted site plan for that specific building. The elevations consist of the elevations for the actual bank building here, as well as the drive-through ATM kiosk, I want to say awning, that's not the right word. Canopy, gosh, that word was escaping me, thank you. Canopy. Those elevations are pictured here. They constitute a combination of masonry, brick, and stucco, as well as metal and in a variety of colors. Those colors are similar to the palette of the other buildings in the center. They are in compliance with the requirements of the Legends Plan Development Handbook. The elevations are four-sided. All four sides of the building have the same level of detail and articulation for that building, as does the four sides of the canopy for the drive-through ATM kiosk. Staff recommends approval of this as it complies with the requirements of the handbook. I am more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from commissioners or staff? Thank you, Ian. Is the applicant here?
Thank you, Commissioner, Planning Commission. My name is Will Riley. I'm the architect for Chase Bank.
Fine.
I do have Joe Hernandez with Chase Bank with me as well, if you have questions for the owner directly.
Any questions? You have nothing to add or subtract?
I think this is a fairly straightforward. We are, as was mentioned, we are proposing four-sided architecture, so it would be the same materials around. We have proposed brick and stone consistent with the center up to the top of our windows was just a banding of stucco above. Worked fairly hard with the city to make this consistent and utilize materials that are already being used in the development. So
I found it quite compatible myself, and I think it was a good layout. Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, sir. Bring it back to the commissioners for possible discussion and a possible vote.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
All right. Go ahead, Commissioner Reed.
Commissioner Reed, I move to approve the building elevations associated with PCN 16-0045 for a new commercial building, approximately 3,470 square feet in size and a standalone ATM canopy located in Zone C of the Legends Shopping Center.
Correct. That dash out of there.
Is that the wrong one? Yeah. Oh. I amended to PCN 16045.
Commissioner Fuhn, second.
We have a motion and a second. And a discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Good luck, gentlemen.
We're looking for a review of the possible amendments to the Sparks Planning Commission rules and procedures.
Good evening, Chairman Peterson and Planning Commission members. Assistant City Attorney Allison McCormick for the record. Before you tonight are several proposed amendments to your Planning Commission rules of procedure. I'll run through a few of the highlights, including some changes that were made after the study session on January 30th. Beginning on page 2 of the rules, as suggested at the Planning Commission study session, an absence is unexcused unless it is preceded by advance notice to the Planning Commission secretary. Originally, in my proposed amendments, that said chairman, but after the study session, that was changed again to the Planning Commission secretary. At page 4, Article 4, Section 1A. That change is proposed to clarify that the vice chairman only has authority to cancel a study session if the chairman is unavailable to make that decision. Article 4, Section 2, at pages 4 and 5. Those amendments are proposed to codify the Planning Commission's existing procedure as to a supermajority when there is one or more vacancies on the Planning Commission. And that is in compliance with state law on supermajority requirements. On Article 4, Section 3H9, at page 6. NRS 241.035 requires that meeting minutes contain a record of members' votes at the request of any member. So that change is proposed to comply with state law. During the study session, Commissioner Carey suggested adding an option or clarifying when the chairman could grant additional time to a speaker, either giving public comment during the public comment period, or during a public hearing. So that proposed language is at the top of page 7. It requires consideration of whether the person is speaking as a representative of a group, whether that group is formally organized or not. And then I proposed a 10-minute cap as an upper limit on the chairman's discretion to extend time to make comments. Certainly if the commission prefers a different limit or no limit at all, that's easy enough to change. At page 8, Article 4, Section 6. That removal of the asterisk language is intended to comply with the Nevada Open Meeting Law, which requires action items to include the phrase "for possible action." Then Article 5, Section 3, those changes are proposed to clarify that different notice requirements apply to neighborhood meetings versus special meetings of the Planning Commission. And that concludes my comments. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Commissioners have any questions? Thank you. I read them over and I agree with them as they are written now. I really quite pleased with them. You did a fine job. Thank you. And I got, Commissioner Carey, most of your questions were answered on that. Are you satisfied?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I concur. I think the staff's done a good job of capturing the suggestions and discussion that we have. Appreciate the work.
So if pleases the body, I'd like to take a motion on this and make action on this particular procedure right now. Somebody would care to make a motion, I sure accept it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Brock, I would like to motion that we approve the Sparks Planning Commission Rules of Procedure as they are amended as presented by the attorney.
Motion, anybody second?
Second, Commissioner Vanderwell.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
And there's no opposed. They wouldn't dare. Thank you very much, Allison. Okay, now we're going to get to the good part. We need to elect a new chair and a vice chair. And I'll take a chairman nomination first, please.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a nomination. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Vanderwell for our new chair.
Good. Nomination.
Second.
We have a nomination and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So be it.
Chairman Peterson,
Yes.
can we please clarify the second on that?
Yes.
Commissioner Fuin, second.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you sure supposed to.
I am very sorry.
Now we get to vice chair.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Commissioner Vanderwell, I move to nominate Commissioner Carey for vice chair.
Commissioner Reed, second.
We have a nomination and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it.
Thank you.
Okay, any public comments out there? Seeing none? Any comments from the commissioners? Mr. Carey?
Yeah, thank you. This is Commissioner Carey for the last time. Appreciate the commission's support. It's an honor to be elected vice chairman for the next year. And I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Vanderwall. I think she'll do a great job as our chair.
Thank you.
I second that, she's gonna be a good one. I've seen her in regional and she's very good.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to thank the commissioners for the support, and I would also like to thank Commissioner Peterson for his leadership over the last year. You've done a tremendous job.
Appreciate that. So now I have the last power invested in me. We are adjourned.
Thank you.